Thank you, Ben. Who hasn't handed theirs in? Do you want me to? We've got them all. Do you want to put this slide up again, Esther? Nice, simple, easy questions. I was a bit worried what some of the questions might may be. And to be honest with you, it shows how much we simply don't know. It shows how many hurts there are in people of faith, in people who pray in power, in people who love God. There are still unanswered questions and still a lot of hurts. Some of these questions, quite disturbing. And I don't mean that in a cruel way. Disturbing in powerfully hurting, maybe the better way of saying that. Some of these I can't answer. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to take these. I'm going to. I'll do something with them. But I'm going to let people know. I'll try and get some answers. Some of these questions are theologically impossible to answer questions. I literally could spend years trying to answer one question. I've picked two possibly easy ones, and I'm sorry. First one, why did the crowd who hailed him as king let him die? So I'm presuming this was those in the time that Jesus went up and they wanted to release Barabbas, not Barnabas, and they said, crucify him. These same people who the week before were there with the palm branches and hailing him as king, saying, he is the Messiah. He is the one we've been waiting for. We cannot wait until he does what we thought the Messiah was going to do, which was turn left. It was either left or right, but turn left towards the Roman powerhouse and overthrow them and take control. That's what many of them thought. That's what they thought the Messiah was going to do. Finally, it is our time to get free from the oppression of the Roman people. And instead of Jesus turning left, he turned right. And I thought, wait a minute, something doesn't make sense. And I think the reason why is because we sometimes have a perception of God. We sometimes have an idea of what God should do. We pray and things don't happen and we say, why isn't God doing this? Why is he not answering these questions? Why is he not allowing this to happen? And because of that, we say, release the other guy. What good is this God if he's not going to do what I ask him to do? Now that sounds to me like something that you rub on a lamp and you get this thing called a genie and you say, I want this. And God's not like that. So either God is just and loves us or he isn't. And this is answering possibly some of those questions. And I just want to try and clarify this. Either God is just in everything he does or he isn't. If he allows things to happen, he's got to do it for a just reason. Otherwise, he's a dictator and therefore not God. I wouldn't follow someone who does some things flippantly. So the heartache and pain that we're going through, the Bible says there is a reason for it. And God says, I know the beginning and the end. There was a film that came out, and I've seen two takes on it. And it was a person saying, I prayed for this. I prayed for strength. And what I got was this disease. And this character portraying God said, Morgan Freeman, he was portraying God. I can't remember what film it was. And he said, You wanted strength, so I put this in your life in order to give you strength. I prayed for freedom in this, and I was put into slavery, and God says, you are free because you're able to understand why these things have happened. So God has allowed things to happen in our lives, which ultimately, if we stay faithful to Him, we would be able to see the reasonings why when we get to heaven. You know, hardship and turmoil has taken place. I remember in America in the early 80s, a group called MAD, Mothers Against Drink Drivers. And this was a woman whose 16-year-old son, because you can drive when you're 16, he got into his car and was driving, and a drink driver came and killed him instantly. And she said at the time the laws for drink driving were, do what you want to do. It's just terrible. And so she said, I'm mad. And she started this group, Mothers Against Drink Drivers. And as a result of that, things changed. And someone asked her, after many years, she said, why do you think God allowed this to happen? And she said, how many other lives have been saved as a result of this one life? Now, that doesn't help the heartache, doesn't help the sorrow, it doesn't help the misery of that woman who lost. But how many other people have been saved as a result of this? And I don't mean to trivialize that, but that's quite significant. Because God is either just or He isn't. And I think the crowd, going back to this question, the crowd got to the point where they say, this is what I think God should be like. And He's not that way. Therefore, I don't want to believe in Him. Why does God keep hearts hardened from accepting Him? Those of you who had children, there is nothing greater than when a child comes up to you and gives you a hug. Or maybe a relative or somebody that for no reason just comes up and gives you a hug. Children, are you listening? Give your parents a hug. Now, without having to say to them, you could do it now. Give them a hug. Tell them you love them. But for those who aren't forced to do it, for those who actually willingly go to the parent and say, love you, and give you a hug, sit on your lap, want you to read a bedtime story, those things are fantastic. But it's a freedom. It's a choice. And this decision about hardening the hearts, God doesn't harden hearts. The Bible talks about Pharaoh, God hardening Pharaoh's heart. What's it interpreted as? Is God actually removed He removed any sign of what he was at in order for a choice to be made. And this was the free choice. The free choice we all have. God says, do you want to believe? Do you want to come into me, to understand my life? So we've got an example of this. I might answer one or two other questions, but they're really difficult. So I've got, this is, again, a poor example, and I do apologize. But fresh, clean water, okay? Perfectly fine. Absolutely nothing wrong with it, okay? Now, I went to the clubs last night, went into the toilets, and filled this bottle with some of the remnants of the toilet. I didn't really, but I'm just pretending. So, this is the remains of the toilets from the clubs last night. Yep. Not that much in there, is there? No. This is toilet water. So, if you can see that, there's a trivial amount, isn't there? Anyone want to drink it? I mean, there's not much. You can see it all sitting at the bottom. So maybe the top's okay. What, I mean, is it not still clean? Is the water clean now? But what if you just drink that bit? That be okay? Why not? Oh, that's a good example. Yeah, there are a lot. So it's no longer good, is it? So how about, yeah. Certainly that's okay. Why? But it's only a tiny bit. But it's only a tiny bit. What if I put more? So this is the clean water. Yeah? Okay, I'm going to put some more in there. There. But there's a lot of water in there. But now it's at the bottom. It's no longer a floaty. It's But is it not? Does no one want to have a drink? It's only, maybe a few hundred blokes. Should be okay. Are you sure no one wants to? Ooh. But look, I've got so much. It's got to be. What if I reached in there and took that little blob out? Would that be okay? No. Oh, well, that's a bit of a bummer. Ooh. Tell you what, there's a theological discussion in that. Yeah. Why couldn't God just forgive us? So this is kind of the gist of what we're at. When we're looking at, and a lot of these questions are huge, massive theological questions. But it's also the question of why couldn't God just forgive us? Why couldn't he just wipe us all clean? And, this idea, let's see it's the next slide, yeah. We get that song, how great the chasm that lay between us. You see, this is the reality of a loving, great God, but also a God who is perfect and holy and just. You see, all of us have strayed from God's laws. All of us have strayed from where God is saying, look, this is the way in which things are going to work perfectly. This is the lifestyle in which I would like everyone to lead. And he gave us that choice. So this is, that hardening of hearts and all that. He gave us a choice. And he said, do you want to believe in me or do you don't? And we need to have that choice because if the pathway isn't open to us to go left or right, how do you know if you truly believe? Because you have no other options. But if you have multiple paths, yeah, and like that child, if that child, or maybe I should say dog might be a bit better. And you've got that dog, I'm not saying dogs and children are the same, but you've got the dog and you go, come on. That dog can go anywhere. But if it comes to you, it's so significant. And this is what God is kind of saying to us. He's like, look, this is the pathway which I'd love for you guys to be on. But you can choose whatever pathway you want. That's up to you. As a parent, I would love for you to choose this path. I really would. I desire it to you. But I am righteous and holy. I am perfectly clean. Any little bit, any little drop, I can't be a part of that. I can't, because it's not my nature. It is perfect and holy. It is just, it's right. And when we make those mistakes, when we do those things that we probably shouldn't, it creates this type of stain within us. It creates in us this, I'm going to ask the kids something. Lydia asked our kids, bless them, they got it right. Kids, I should actually ask the adults. Who should I ask? Adults or kids? What do you think? Should I ask you guys or should I ask the adults? Oh, the middle. Yep, there you go. What's the significance of the bridge? In church life, what's the significance of the bridge? Ooh, well done. You deserve a star. You can have, I'll tell you what, you can have one of the marshmallows. They've only been touched by a lot of people. So, yeah, if God is just, then he would not have done what he's done if it wasn't for a reason. I said, I love my children. And to willingly put them in harm's way, there's got to be a reason for it. And that's sort of the underlying thing I want you guys to understand is God is either just and he has a purpose and a plan and he's got this whole idea because he's able to understand everything, or he isn't. And if he isn't, why are we following him? There's other opportunities. There's other things you could be doing on a Sunday morning. So if God isn't just, if he doesn't have a plan, if there isn't a purpose and a reason for things happening, Why are we following him? Why, honestly, it was a rhetorical question, but let's see what your answer is.
Because so then we're trying to follow him because he's trying to lead us to what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. God wants us to do what is right, and as parents, we all want our children to do what's right. And God is saying, I want you to do this. But the life in the world that we live in is tough. And I have two choices. I can either force things to be perfect and holy and just, but then all of you become robots because I just stop you from doing what you should be doing or what you'd like to do. And there's no love. Yep. So that's the choice I have. Either control you into everything being perfect and stop you from going out drink driving, stop you going out with other affairs, stop people from being angry at each other, and I stop that behavior and control you. Or I say, and everyone has feelings. Yeah? Everyone has emotions. So as a parent, should I force you not to have those emotions?
No, because they're all normal.
They're all normal. So even God has passion. God has love. God cares. And so he says, I want you to make a decision. I would love for you to follow this path. Is there going to be hardship? Yes, but guess what? I know the end. Is it going to be difficult? Yes, but I'm making this so that you can grow stronger. But this is really difficult, I know, but I'm with you in it. But this is unfair, I know, but it will make you the person that I know you can be. But what about, look, do you trust me? That's what it comes down to. Do you believe that ultimately I'm in control and I have a plan and I have a purpose for each and every one of you? I don't know. I've seen hardship in my life. About 5 of these questions are all about children dying. I had to give a funeral for a 13-day-old baby. And the image that will stay with me forever is Dad carrying this shoebox. Where's God in that? That's wrong. It's unfair. It's not right. It's not loving. It's not kind. It's not just. But am I saying God isn't just? Am I saying God doesn't have a plan? Am I saying God doesn't have a reason? God doesn't have a purpose? That's what it comes down to. I have to accept there's things I just don't understand, and so I choose. I choose based on knowledge. I choose based on my own experience. I choose based on science, because there's a lot of scientists out there that say you cannot believe there is no God. I've said this before. Those on the CERN, the CERN in Switzerland, they're trying to smash a particle. What is it? Yeah. The Hadron Collider. Trying to find how life was created. And the one scientist had an interview, and they were asking, this was 4 or 5 years ago, and they were saying, how close are you to finding out how everything was created? He goes, every single time we come a step closer, we recognize how much farther away we are. There is no way, at the moment, we can say life just happened without a creator. And the scientist said, are you saying there's a God? I can't, because I'm a scientist and my colleagues will make fun of me. This is one of the top brilliant people in the world who are saying life is impossibly complex, so much so that we just cannot comprehend it. There must be a creator. But why does that creator allow these things? And it comes back to us saying either God is just or he isn't. And if he's just, there's a plan and a purpose in your life. In the midst of the heartache, in the midst of the struggling, in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the suffering, in the midst of the anger and the misery and the 2 fingers up, I'm fed up with you, God. I've been through this time and time again. It is no fair. And then God says, I know. That's why I sent my son to die, so that you could believe in me, you can meet with me, you could spend your time with me, and we could be together, and it will all make sense. I promise that. So God doesn't take this, Jesus' death didn't add more. He didn't take away the sin. Because, as Harmony was saying, there's still going to be stuff left, isn't there? No matter what is taken in there, no matter how close of a sieve you take out of here, there's still going to be stuff in here. There's still things in our lives which we do, and we make mistakes. We're constantly going to make mistakes. So what God does, he sent Jesus. And so when we go before heaven, God doesn't see the sin in our lives. He sees Jesus, perfect, holy, and just, righteous, all these things that God is. And he says, you can be with me now, because that's what I would like you to see. God doesn't see the ink or the bad stuff, but we have the choice. We have a choice. I'm not going to force you. I would love for you to come to know Christ. I would love for you to have that freedom. I would love for you to have that faith, so that all of these questions which you have, they might be questions that you don't want answers for because you trust. You just trust. Yep. But those are the pathways, difficult as they may be. God says, choose me. I'm saying choose you. We watched a good friend of ours get baptized last Sunday, and it was fantastic. 18-year-old. And one of the questions was, how is life going to be different for you? And he said, well, initially it might not. But essentially, over time, the closer I am with God, and the more I choose to follow God, and the more I choose to understand God, and the more I choose to accept God into my life, the more God will then change me and mold me and make me into the better person that I know he wants me to be. That's what God sees, is the cross. And it's whether or not we choose to follow that. So I'm aware of time. We've got 2 songs. I think we can